Welcome back, warrior. We're on Alma chapter 57. And what's really funny is our family scripture reading is Alma chapter 24-ish. And it's crazy to see the anti-Nephi Lehis, how they gave up their weapons and everything, and how they buried their weapons, and to see like the army of Helaman with the 2,000 stripling warriors who are their children. Like, who would have known that that was going to happen, you know? Well, besides the Lord, of course. I'm just saying, like, how cool is that, like, to be able to see, I guess, the future from that point and see that, like, hey, it's awesome. But also, it kind of goes to show you that, like, the Lord blesses us, blesses our faith, but not always how we want. Like, remember the anti-Nephi Lehis, when they gave up their weapons, they were pretty much giving themselves to the Lamanites, and a lot of them got slaughtered. And to now see that the remnant of those warriors who got slaughtered, to see now their kids, well, I guess not all of them got slaughtered, and probably some of them had their children later, you know what I mean? But like, to see the other side of things where none of them died, you know, like, good things happen to good things do happen to bad people all the time. But bad things happen to good people all the time too. And it's not just when we're faithful, we're going to be blessed and we're going to stay alive and we're going to have all this prosperity and we're going to have success. That's not how it works. And so I think sometimes we see the 2,000 stripling warriors and we're like, yeah, they're amazing. And if you have faith, everything's always going to work out and nobody's going to die and everybody's going to stay healthy and strong. And, you know, but then we have like the stories of Tiankam, where he's an awesome warrior and he's trying to do good and to kill peeps. And, you know, we're going to be reading his story here soon, but he ends up dying, you know, and the Lord doesn't preserve him then. And so, you know, it's just like, bad things will happen to good people and good things will happen to good people. And it's just good to keep that in mind, that the Lord doesn't hate us if something bad is happening to us, but that he can help us through any of our trials, any of our triumphs. And as long as we have him as the center of our lives, then everything's going to work out, you know? Okay. So Alma chapter 57, I just had to go through like that because sometimes we forget. And so we need to be reminded that it's okay. It's going to be all right. Bad things happen to good people, but that doesn't mean that they're bad. Oh boy, my glasses. Hold on. Okay. So here we are, chapter 57 summary. Let me word these glasses. Okay. It says, Helaman recounts the taking of Antiparah and the surrender, and later the defense of Cumeni. His Ammonite striplings fight valiantly, and all are wounded, but none are slain. Gid reports the slaying and the escape of the Lamanite prisoners. Okay, so if you're following along, let's get going. Also, feel free to highlight and stuff. I don't really mention when to highlight, but sometimes that's like up to your own preference, right? Like, whatever stands out to you at the time that you are reading these things, you can highlight them and write some words right there. Okay, here we go. And now it came to pass that I received an epistle from Ammoron, the king, stating that if I would deliver up those prisoners of war whom we had taken, that he would deliver up the city of Antiparah unto us. But I sent an epistle unto the king, that we were sure our forces were sufficient to take the city of Antiparah by our force, and by delivering up the prisoners for that city, we should suppose ourselves unwise, and that we would only deliver up our prisoners on exchange. Okay, so I was thinking that was a good deal, but it's smart, I guess, not to do that. And Amram refused mine epistle, for he would not exchange prisoners. Therefore, we began to make preparations to go against the city of Antiparah, which is still sad to me that Moroni and the Nephites built up all these cities, and now they have to go and destroy them and take over, you know? And so, one second. Okay. All right. We got the little one a snack. Okay. But, here says verse 4, but the people of Antiparah did leave the city and fled to their other cities, which they had possession of, to fortify them, and thus the city of Antiparah fell into our hands. So Antiparah was rescued. And thus ended the 28th year of the reign of the judges. Okay. Yep, that's as loud as it's going to get because I need to read. Yeah, I can't have that too loud, okay? Just, you got to pay attention to what they're saying, okay? And it came to pass that in the commencement of the 29th year, we received a supply of provisions, and also an addition to our army from the land of Zarahemla and from the land round about, to the number of 6,000 men, besides 60 of the sons of the Ammonites, who had come to join their brethren, my little band of 2,000. And now behold, we were strong, yea, and we had also plenty of provisions brought unto us. And it came to pass that it was our desire to wage a battle within the army, which was placed to protect the city Cumeni. Okay, so first of all, remember, this is still a letter from Helaman to Moroni, recounting what just had happened to them. So, and he's just trying to tell them what's up. So verse 8, and now, behold, I will show unto you that we soon accomplished our desire. Yea, with our strong force, or with the part of our strong force, we did surround by night the city of Cumeni, the city Cumeni, a little before they were to receive a supply of provisions. And it came to pass that we did camp round about the city for many nights, but we did sleep upon our swords and keep guards, that the Lamanites could not come upon us by night and slay us, which they attempted many times. But as many times as they attempted this, their blood was spilt. Nice. Good job. At length, their provisions did arrive, and they were about to enter the city by night. And we, instead of being Lamanites, were Nephites. Therefore, we did take them and their provisions. Now, I don't even know what that means. Wait, at length, and they were about to enter the city by night, and we, instead of being Lamanites, were the Nephites. Okay, so they took their provisions and were trying to sneak in with their stuff, but they took the people with the delivery over so that they could come into the land. So notwithstanding the Lamanites being cut off from their support after this manner, they were still determined to maintain the city. Therefore, it became expedient that we should take those provisions and send them to Judea, and our prisoners to the land of Zarahemla. Okay. So, let's see. There's a quote. Did I read these quotes? Maybe I didn't. No, I did not. Okay, so there's a couple quotes. It says, no, I think I did. But this is a good one. So we'll just read this one. Elder M. Russell Ballard says, imagine that these inexperienced young men were so spiritually and physically prepared and so powerful that they frightened their foes into surrendering. Oh yeah, I do remember this. So it's okay. We read the other one. Okay, so due to the recent battle, sorry, that was Elder M. Russell Ballard, October 2002 General Conference, in case you want to look that up. Okay, due to the recent battle, Amram lost a lot of soldiers, and it was the most powerful Lamanite army. So we can see that Helaman's 2,000 really made a difference. They did not just help win a battle, they impacted the whole war. So Amram knew he needed more soldiers, and he offered up a Nephite city in exchange for Lamanite prisoners. Oh, that's what he was doing. That's right. Helaman would not Helaman would only agree if the exchange was prisoners for prisoners instead of prisoners for a city. So no deal was made. Helaman then began preparations for war to gain back the city of Antiparah. And when the Lamanites saw this, they fled to another Nephite city they had conquered. This shows the reputation of Helaman's army was so feared that even their preparation to come to war scared the Lamanites out of the city, and the Nephites gained a city without bloodshed. Okay, I don't know how I missed that, but that was awesome. And isn't that funny? Like, when you read things one time, it doesn't necessarily make sense the way you think until somebody can explain it to you. And so I'm really glad that the Redhead Hostess has been teaching seminary, or had been teaching seminary for so long, that now she's putting all her knowledge and wisdom and inspiration into these study guides, because it really helps me. Like, put it in English, you know what I mean? Anyway, so that's so cool that even the preparation scared the Lamanites away. And so they were able to take that. Like, I understood the fact that they took the city of Antiparah, and I understood that people left, but I wasn't sure what that was. So glad that they put it together so nicely so that it made sense to me. Now, wouldn't that be cool, like, for us to do in preparation, like when we're preparing against Satan, and like he thinks we're doing one thing, and then we go and do another thing, and we are preparing for his attacks, and then it's like he flees, right? And I know this sounds weird, but like, I can tell sometimes when I'm being attacked and attacked and attacked. And then I can tell when I feel that peace. And I wonder if right then that's the difference, like where I feel like I have decided and I'm going to do this. And then he flees because he knows that I have won. Does that make sense? So for example, the other day, yesterday, I didn't want to wake up and go exercise. And so, but I set my alarm because night before intention sometimes trump the day of sleepiness, right? And so I set my alarm. So I was already awake. Literally, I have won that far. And usually that's like the struggle, is just waking up. And so then I was like, okay, I could either go work out, or I could come back to sleep right now I could just go back to sleep. And I really wanted to go back to sleep. And I don't know if you knew this, but Vasa, apparently if you book yourself to go to a workout, you will be charged $3 if you decide to cancel. So I have canceled a couple times. I will say the $3 apparently is not quite enough to keep me from canceling. But anyway, so even the $3 was not a motivation. I was like, I'm so sleepy. I need to just go to sleep. And I had only gotten like 2 hours of sleep. And I was like, I should just go back to sleep, blah, blah, blah. I can go work out tomorrow, which would be today. And anyway, I went, I was like, no, I'm going to go work out. I'm going to feel awesome after. And then I can just take a nap later after I take the kids to school, right? And I think right when I decided and I was like driving, I was like feeling so at peace. I wasn't feeling tortured. I was feeling great. And of course, after I finished my workout, I felt even more amazing. And I was like, this is what it feels like to take over. You took it's like we took over, like I took over my body instead of being taken over. I was able to take over. Now, I'm not arguing with like how much sleep you're supposed to get and yada, yada. Okay. I know all the studies. People have told them to me. I've read books. Okay. That's not the issue here. The issue here is that I won the battle and I went and I exercised. Yes, I did take a nap after. So we're okay. Our sleep is just fine. You don't need to tell me all the things I need to do about sleep because they're already ingrained. Anyway, and plus I really like sleep anyway. So it's not like that's a problem. So there we go. So anyway, I felt like I won the battle and I felt like Satan fled and I was able to continue on my day. And it was a great day because I was able to have that time and do that for myself. So anyways, great sometimes we need to do that to help us win our battles. Okay, we need to override. Okay, then verses 5-7, the stripling warriors had now been at war for over 2 years, and they had only regained one city. At this point, Zarahemla sent 6,000 men, plus 60 more Ammonite sons came. So the Nephite army was growing stronger, and they decided to try to regain the city Cumeni. And then the Nephites, let's see, where was I? Where did I read up to? Okay. And then the Nephites knew that the Lamanites in Cumeni would soon need provisions, so they surrounded the city and camped there many nights and kept constant guard. They waited until the provisions arrived and took possession of their provisions and sent them to Judea. So they stole provisions. They stole the supplies for the Lamanite army. Then after not many days, the Lamanites gave up the city, so the Nephites gained another city without bloodshed. And this is the idea, you know, we don't want blood. We don't want people dying. Okay. So then verse 12 says, and it came to pass that not many days had passed away before the Lamanites began to lose all hopes of succor. Therefore they yielded up the city unto our hands. And thus we had accomplished our designs in obtaining the city Cumeni. See? Not to be confused with cumin, the spice, right? But that's what I'm going to think of. Okay, verse 13-17. But it came to pass that our prisoners were so numerous that notwithstanding the enormity of our numbers, we were obliged to employ all our force to keep them, or to put them to death. For behold, they would break out in great numbers, and would fight with stones and with clubs, and whatsoever thing they could get into their hands, insomuch that we did slay upwards of 2,000 of them, after they had surrendered themselves prisoners of war. Therefore it became expedient for us that we should put an end to their lives, or guard them sword in hand down to the land of Zarahemla. And also our provisions were not any more than sufficient for our own people, notwithstanding that which we had taken from the Lamanites. And now in those critical circumstances it became a very serious matter to determine concerning these prisoners of war. Nevertheless, we did resolve to send them down to the land of Zarahemla. Therefore we selected a part of our men and gave them charge over our prisoners to go down to the land of Zarahemla. But it came to pass that on the morrow they did return, and now behold, we did not inquire of them concerning the prisoners. For behold, the Lamanites were upon us, and they returned in season to save us from falling into their hands. For behold, Ammoron had sent to their support a new supply of provisions, and also a numerous army of men. Okay. So does that make you think, like, what happened to those prisoners that they took? I'm a little bit nervous. So here we go. So it says they had the city, but they also had such a large number of prisoners of war that it was a problem. The prisoners would break out and battle the Nephites who were guarding them. And what do? They ended their lives. Do they end their lives, or do they send them to Zarahemla? That's what the options were. So remember, the Lamanites had a policy to kill all soldiers except the captains. And this is found in Alma 56:12. But the Nephites chose a different option, even though it was harder to and riskier. Oh, so cute! That's so fun. She's watching Clifford the Big Red Dog. And two cats, they have friends. Okay, let's see. So remember, the Lamanites had a policy, but the Nephites chose a different option, even though it was a harder and riskier. They decided to send the prisoners up to Zarahemla. They sent them off, and the next day, Cumeni was attacked by the Lamanites. They wanted the city of Cumeni back. Okay. And something that really stands out to me is, how does Helaman show respect for life, even the lives of their enemies, right? Like, it's just so cool, right? Because seriously, like, they're your enemies, right? And the fact that he showed respect, didn't just be like, yeah, let's kill them all, shows a lot of maturity and respect for life, right? Okay, verse 18. And it came to pass that those men whom we sent with prisoners did arrive in season to check them, as they were about to overpower us. But behold, my little band of 2,060 fought most desperately. Yea, they were firm before the Lamanites, and did administer death unto all those who opposed them. And as the remainder of our army were about to give way before the Lamanites, behold, those 2,060 were firm and undaunted. Yea, and they did obey and observe to perform every word of command with exactness. Yea, and even according to their faith, it was done unto them. And I did remember the words which they said unto me, that their mothers had taught them. And now behold, it was these my sons and those men who had been selected to convey the prisoners, to whom we owe this great victory. For it was they who did beat the Lamanites, therefore they were driven back to the city of Manti. And we retained our city Cumeni, and were not all destroyed. 1 second. By the sword, nevertheless, we had suffered great loss. Okay, hold on. Okay, so it says, and we retained our city Cumeni, and were not all destroyed by the sword, and nevertheless we had suffered great loss. And it came to pass that after the Lamanites had fled, I immediately gave orders that my men who had been wounded should be taken from among the dead, and caused that their wounds should be dressed. And it came to pass, see, so sometimes they do experience loss, right? And it came to pass that there were 2,000 out of my 2,060 who had fainted because of the loss of blood. Wow. Nevertheless, according to the goodness of God, and to our great astonishment, and also the joy of our whole army, there was not one soul of them who did perish. Yea, and neither was there one soul among them who had not received many wounds. I love that. Okay, so even though there was great loss, none of the stripling warriors were lost. So that is awesome. Okay, still experiencing that success there. Okay, so it says, we notice, with no notice, they were suddenly at war, but these stripling warriors were always ready. So they fought, and this was a more difficult battle than the first. Now, something that I'm recognizing is that this was 2 years later than when they first fought, and so they probably got some really good training by now. The words that Helaman used to describe how these stripling warriors fought are inspiring. They fought desperately, and they were firm before the Lamanites. And we see in verse 20 how terrible this battle had become, because the rest of the Nephite army was about to give way. But the Ammonite sons were firm and undaunted. Even in these horrible circumstances, they listened to the commands given to them, and they did obey and observe to perform every word of command with exactness. That's amazing. When it was time to fight, they did not lose their nerve, and they kept looking toward Helaman. When tested in the heat of the battle, they were firm, exact, and undaunted, and Helaman attributed their valiance to their faith. Helaman said, even according to their faith, it was done unto them. And I did remember the words which they said unto me, that their mothers had taught them. Isn't that awesome? Like, I just love how exemplary they were. Like, who obeys with exactness? Like, just to give you an example, I pay my tithing, but I'm not exact at paying it every first of the month. And so I need to do better with that, right? There's a quote that I think Hank Smith introduced to me. And it says, obedience. Wait. Okay, hold on. I'm going to do it. I'm going to remember it. Okay. I think it's like this. He says, obedience isn't obedience unless it is immediate. And I'm like, oh, I love that so much, because it's such a good, because what is it if it's not immediate? It's not, you're not being obedient. And then later, the reason why you obey later is because something happened, right? Like, you got threatened, or you got righteous exchange for what you need to do, or you know what I mean? It's not obedience if you don't just do it immediately. And then there's a sister in our ward, and a really good sister that I love. Actually, she's in our ward because we love her family, but she said something. We did like this Sister Scriptorians Club, like way back, and we met at her house. Anyway, she said something to me or something to all of us that really stands out to me. And she said it was like, now I have to try and remember what it is, but it was like exact obedience, like obedience brings blessings, exact obedience brings miracles. And I was just like, that is powerful, right? Like, Yeah, just like obedience, you know, is great, right? But exact obedience will bring miracles. And that is what the army of Helaman experienced, because they obeyed with exactness, which means they were being blessed with miracles. Like, it's miraculous to think that a whole army in several battles didn't lose not one guy or girl. Not one, like, I guess it is sons because they're all guys. Helaman's stripling warriors. And anyways, and he calls them their sons. So they were all boys. But like, it's just crazy to me to think that, right? When there's no casualties, that's just amazing. So anyways, those were the things that I was thinking about while I was reading this. And then it says, what else? Oh, there's a quote from Elder Richard J. Maines, and he says, Helaman and his young stripling soldiers understood the importance of making covenants with the Lord. They were also recipients of the blessings that come to those who faithfully keep their covenants, end quote. That amazing, right? Elder Richard J. Maines, October 2004 General Conference. Okay. So now we're going to read verse 26. Here we go. And now their preservation was astonishing to our whole army, yea, that they should be spared, while there was 1,000 of our brethren who were slain. So even within the Nephites, 1,000 of like regular soldiers, I don't know if I could call them regular, but like 1,000 of the other soldiers who were not the sons of Helaman, they experienced 1,000 were lost, who were slain. And it says, and we do justly ascribe it to the miraculous power of God, because of their exceeding faith in that which they had been taught to believe, that there was a just God, and whosoever did not doubt that they should be preserved by his marvelous power. Now this was the faith of these of whom I have spoken. They are young, and their minds are firm, and they do put their trust in God continually. Isn't that awesome? Like, again, bad things do happen to good people, but this was not the bad thing. Like, they were not experiencing bad things to them at this time. Not to say that any of those stripling warriors were going to have a hard time with life later. This was just how they were being blessed for their obedience right now. Okay, and then 28, and now it came to pass that after we had thus taken care of our wounded men, and had buried our dead, and also the dead of the Lamanites, who were many, behold, we did inquire of Gid concerning the prisoners whom they had started to go down to the land of Zarahemla with. Now Gid was the chief captain over the band, who was appointed to guard them down to the land. So this was the prisoners? Is this the prisoners? No. Take care of our wounded men. Oh, okay. And now these are the words which Gid said unto me. Behold, we did start to go down to the land of Zarahemla with our prisoners, and it came to pass that we did meet the spies of our enemies, of our armies, who had been, I really need to learn how to read, spies of our armies, so Nephite spies, who had been sent out to watch the camp of the Lamanites. And they cried unto us, saying, Behold, the armies of the Lamanites are marching toward the city of Cumeni, and behold, they will fall upon them, yea, and will destroy our people. And it came to pass that our prisoners did hear their cries, which caused them to take courage, and they did rise up in rebellion against us. And it came to pass because of, so these were the prisoners that they were taking, okay. And it came to pass because of their rebellion, we did cause that our swords should come upon them. And it came to pass that they did in a body run upon our swords, in the which the greater number of them were slain. And the remainder of them broke through and fled from us. Okay, so this is the story of the prisoners. And remember, they were like, should we kill them? Should we leave them alive? So they were taking them to Zarahemla. But then they heard about the war coming to Cumeni. And then, anyways, they started up. And so a lot of them died on their own, right? Because they weren't going to try and kill them originally. 34. And behold, when they had fled, and we could not overtake them, we took our march with speed towards the city Cumeni. And behold, we did arrive in time that we might assist our brethren in preserving the city. And behold, we are again delivered out of the hands of our enemies, and blessed is the name of our God. For behold, it is he that has delivered us, yea, that has done this great thing for us. Amazing, right? And then verse 36, now it came to pass that when Helaman had heard these words of Gid, I was filled with exceeding joy because of the goodness of God in preserving us, that we might not all perish. Yea, and I trust that the souls of them who have been slain have entered into the rest of their God. Right? Because Helaman didn't want that bloodshed. Okay. So here's a quote from Elder L. Todd Budge. So he says, our son Dan got very sick on his mission in Africa and was taken to a medical facility with limited resources. As we read his first letter to us after his illness, we expected that he would be discouraged, but instead he wrote, even as I lay in the emergency room, I felt peace. I have never been so consistently and resiliently happy in my life. As my wife and I read these words, we were overcome with emotion. Consistently and resiliently happy. We had never heard happiness described that way, but his words rang true. We knew that the happiness he described was not simply pleasure or an elevated mood, but a peace and joy that came when we surrender ourselves to God and put our trust in him in all things. We too had those times in our lives when God spoke peace to our souls and caused us to have hope in Christ, even when life was hard and uncertain, end quote. Elder L. Todd Budge, October 2019 General Conference. I don't know about you, but I need to know the rest of this story about this missionary. Right? Wait, what happened to... I need to go read that whole talk to see if they talk about him coming home and being healthy, because I really want that. I'm hoping that because he mentioned it in his talk, like he is alive and well. Right? Like, doesn't that just bother you? Sometimes people tell you part of the story and you're like, that's not what I'm like. I need more. Where's the rest of it? I need to hear how they're doing now. Like, yeah, that was they broke their leg, but did it get better? What happened? Or what, like, those are the things that I need to know. So after the battle was over, this is a little recap at the end. After the battle was over, they wanted to find out more about what happened with the prisoners they had sent to Zarahemla, right? So Gid was the chief captain in charge of guarding the Lamanite prisoners on that journey, and he explained that they came across the Nephite spies who cried that the armies of the Lamanites were marching towards the city of Cumeni. Lamanite prisoners heard this and rebelled against Gid and his men, and even with no weapons, the prisoners ran up upon the Nephite soldiers, and most of the prisoners were slain, but some were able to flee. After that, Gid and his men rushed to Cumeni to help them fight the Lamanites, and that's verse 17 where you hear that those guys came back, right? They came back. In verse 17 it says, but it came to pass that on the morrow they did return. Now behold, we did inquire of them concerning the prisoners, for behold, the Lamanites were upon us. But they returned in season to save us from falling into their hands. So they were so glad, right? And they were like, we'll find out what happened to them later, but right now we need to fight. Okay, let's see if we can read it, live it. Okay, so the Read It, Live It, it's covering 2 chapters, but the Read It, Live It comes from chapter 57, so I figure we'll share it. It says, in the commencement of the 29th year, Helaman's army receives a supply of provisions, and also in addition to their army, 60 sons join their little band, and now they are stronger. Okay, so the 60 sons, I love that now they have 2,060. So they first had 2,000, and then after 2 years of time, it does seem that they would have a little bit more that they could send, right? So then they sent the 60. So that's why there's 2,060. And it says, join God's fight even if you're late, right? I love that because I'm always late. Always late. And I really try not to be late. Something I'm working on. And so this kind of resonates with me, like, even if you feel like you're late to the fight, it's okay. You can strengthen the army and you can strengthen your family, and it's never too late to start any of the things you want to do. Those things that you are being prompted to do for your family, it's not too late. I get those whispers too, like my kids don't read their scriptures every day. Must be too late make it a priority to, strengthen them and figure out how we can do that. But it's not too late. I love that. So anyways, until Alma chapter 58, stay strong, warrior.